That's
Well, we only got 11 people in here. Maybe we could just wait a bit more, see if people are gonna
11.
come in or
No, the
not.
11 people came. They came on time. I
All
mean,
right,
trust me,
fair,
you
fair.
can watch the rest as they go.
All right,
But
cool.
Yes,
let's
sir.
get it started. So,
Welcome.
welcome to another Twitch Edge Control live stream.
Yes, sir.
We got John Polidora in the house. You
Main
already know
guy.
what it is. And the rest of you guys, if you want to introduce yourself and tell you what you do,
All
go
right.
on. Fine.
Well, my name is Denzel. I'm currently hosting the stream right now. I'm one of the organizers for Edge Control. You didn't know already, and there's two of us.
Yes.
And I'm Zavi. I'm that second half of Edge Control.
My other half.
And your other half.
Uh,
And yeah, we've been working together with lots of great people to put this together. It's not just us. There's a lot of other people behind Edge Control that really want to make this happen.
yeah.
So, we had a lot of help with from our great guest speakers, like John and Kalen, Anthony, every one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I am Kalen Chock. I'm one of the instructors of Robot Pencil and one of the people that helps organize these workshops. And today we have a special guest with us. We have John Polidora. Say what's up, John. Say what's up with the people.
Everybody.
What's going on?
Yes.
So just want to give a big shout out for John for taking some time out on a Sunday. I know he's busy man, he's got things to do, but this man has come out on a Sunday to kind of give you all some content, get to watch him paint, and kind of give you guys kind of a sneak peek on what's going on in the future. I mean, so JP is gonna be one of the instructors, giving a live demo and talking about his life and his career at Edge Control Toronto, September 3rd and 4th.
Yeah.
So what we're gonna be doing, throughout the weeks leading up to the event, is we're gonna try to get each and every person that's giving a demo to kind of come onto the stream and just talk about some stuff and kind of give them, a little taste of what they can expect, all that kind of fun stuff. So it should be a good time.
Absolutely.
But let's get over to JP here, the man of honor here.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, you did one of your first kind of presentations in Barcelona, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Cool.
I think that was my first, yeah.
That was your first one. Why don't you tell us about that? Because I mean, this is going to be your second workshop, obviously with Toronto. So, tell us about the first experience of you doing it in Barcelona, because that's kind of a crazy thing to be your first demo is like across the world, in a place you don't really know at all.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was really nice because there's so many friendly people there. Like, it made it much easier to do that than I would have thought. And probably like most people, completely over prepared.
Oh shoot.
I don't plan on doing this next time. I'll be more kind of informal, I think, just because.
Okay.
Because I think that'll work out better. As soon as I make it a conversation, it's almost always easier for me.
We did have some technical difficulties last time. We didn't have PowerPoint, and then that kind of made some things a little bit harder for you. But you definitely did a great job. So you're
Well,
learning.
I won't be relying on PowerPoint again. So.
Well, if you need PowerPoint, I actually made a point to download it onto my laptop. Actually, so I was like, all right, so this way, like it's John proof. Like the programs that John needs, we got it, we're good. But granted, they didn't have really good internet in Spain, so we were trying to download it, and it took forever. So that was kind of a weird issue as well. But hopefully that won't happen. But so it's safe to say that you probably, it's your first time, so I assume that you kind of figured out what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I think so. I think I have some good ideas and ways that this next one's going to be much better.
Yeah,
That's great.
Were you nervous the first time? Was it a little bit nerve-wracking?
Oh yeah. Because it's a big room full of people, and I'm not generally that outgoing. Not unless I know people, then I'm a loud, obnoxious asshole usually.
Of course. What were some of the things that you liked about doing a workshop? Because I mean, there's so many aspects of the workshop, not just demoing, but experiencing it, interacting with students. I mean, what were some things that you took away from it that were?
Well, one of the cool things is, I mean, like, I've lived in Southern California now for about a decade, and before that I lived in Hawaii, but the art community there wasn't the same as it is here.
Mhm.
And I don't know, it didn't occur to me that there would be so much high quality skill found everywhere all over the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I met so many amazing artists and people there that were just like you're so, welcoming and willing to share what what was special about art and their process with me, and it was just really nice.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good summary of what happened out there. We saw a lot of people that we did not know were that good. I mean, there's that one guy that did that one crazy sketch,
Yeah,
that like demon sketch that looked like it was on pen or whatever.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
really good.
did you end up giving it to your boss, or can you even talk about that? Or
I didn't give it to my boss.
I
I
thought,
kept it for myself. I showed it to my friend.
I thought they thought you were gonna show it to me to highlight.
No, no, no. I showed it to some of my friends who have worked on Diablo,
Oh yeah.
right?
Okay.
And yeah, they loved it because it's so distinctly something that fits into the wheelhouse of what Diablo is.
Mhm.
So that's what I meant. I just like I get geeked out more than anything because I was like, well,
Well, there
this
you
is
go.
something that like because I mean like we've done books in the past where they're just filled with like drawings,
Mhm.
and I mean this kid's work was so good. I was like, if we ever do that again, I would I would definitely recommend we use him because
Yeah.
there's something really, really like very Diablo about his aesthetic that I liked.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I have any control over that because I don't. I'm just saying, for my 2 cents, it was really, really very nice.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's about too. Is putting people that may not have opportunities in
Hmm.
some regard because they don't know who to talk to or where to go. I mean, that right there, though, that's not possibly what happened. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But that kid did something that was awesome. You saw that. You were like, man, this is great. I need to show this to people because someone doesn't know about this kid, and you potentially maybe have created a contact with that kid that might lead to him something that's positive in the future. And I think that's what's really great about the workshops too, is that
I like helping anybody who does good work and tries really hard. You know,
exactly.
I mean, I don't know if I have the ability to help him, but I will remember his work. I
Yeah.
will try, and it's like most of my work is pretty stylized. So like most of the people I deal with on a daily basis, we work pretty stylized. We don't work realistic. We don't work gritty. But it's like I do know quite a few people, and if I can help him, I will.
And by helping, it's not necessarily like I'm gonna get you a job. It's just more so like,
Oh, it's
here,
more
I have this
advice. You
number,
know.
talk to this guy.
Yeah, like I mean, there's so many ways to help people beyond just like, hey, have a job.
Exactly. You know.
Besides, it's like what's that the proverb like? You give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man
Mhm.
to fish, he eats for a life, his life, right?
Teach
I
a man
forget the
to
word,
hunt
but you know what I mean. You know
man
what
to
I
hunt
mean,
fish.
right?
Yeah, something like that. And yeah, I would agree in that sometimes it may not result in a job right away, but sometimes it can result in a relationship or a contact that could turn into something later. Or sometimes it's a simply matter of, oh, this is really cool. Have you thought about this studio or this place? Someone that's an avenue that the artist didn't potentially know about. And I think that's what's great about it too. So I mean, that's what's going to be really great about Toronto. If you're going to Toronto and and John likes good art. We all like good art. Bring some work. That's what the portfolio reviews are for. And I think when we were in Barcelona, we saw a lot of good portfolios. And even Dan Levisi, one of the people that are coming too, saw some great projects. And I remember he even walked away saying, "Yeah, this project's dope. When I get back, I'm gonna give him some of my contacts and help him get that project off the ground because that project was dope." And I
Mm.
was like, "Damn, right." So a kid that like before probably thought he had no way of getting off the ground, now potentially could do something with his own ideas, and that's what we can do, for Toronto. So that's why I'm excited to see, to Xavi and Denzel. I'm excited to see what Toronto has to offer. I mean, we got to see what Barcelona was in terms of the community and the positivity, and that community is still kind of small in my opinion. There's a big community in Barcelona, but it's still growing. I would say that Toronto, from what I've seen, already has a big art community. I've seen some of the workshops out there from the Schoolism and all the other places, so I'd love to see what they have to offer.
Yeah, I mean, like we said before, but like me and Zabby, we attended schools in live like last year in May 2015, I think. And like that alone, we just went to see like Craig Mullins. That was like the main reason why we went. But like I think for me and both of us especially, like there were just so many people that we never thought we would have met that were just amazing at what they did and like so friendly, so helpful. Like we met one of Frank Hong's. I guess he's working at Crush now, and we met him I think during the time that he was interning at Crush, and like his work was just already phenomenal at the time, and that was just like
Johnny
one
Hall?
person. Yeah, Johnny Hall, and that was just one person. It was crazy to like meet all these people, and then like even at the event right now, we have studio people coming in. We have people coming in from Ubisoft Toronto. We have
Yeah.
Front.
yeah, Northfront Studio, just a bunch
Crush
of
Visual.
Crush Visual, yes, like a bunch of people from there, and like it's just gonna be a crazy amount of talent already in one place. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's it's gonna be fun. I can't wait to again. I think the reason why we love these workshops, and I think that's probably why John is likes the workshops now too as well, is because you just never know what you're gonna get. It's just it's so refreshing. I think I'm sure John can agree with this, that we get kind of stuck in our day to day, just same desk, same travel route, same everything, same people. You
mm-hmm.
know, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, but all of a sudden you get thrown to a foreign land of Canada or Barcelona or wherever
Oh,
we may be. All of a sudden you're just surrounded by different people, different walks of life, just different experiences, different culture. It's refreshing. I mean, John, could you probably talk about? I mean, how refreshed were you when you came back from Barcelona in terms of just like, man, like I'm ready to do some work. And plus, you were probably a little bit happy just to be home because of the long flight too.
Well, I mean, like I was pretty motivated to start working on my comic, like
Yeah.
seriously, right? And you know, I'm finally at the point where I'm actually making pretty good headway with it. So it's like I don't know if without that experience I would really feel the same way. I think it was kind of a very important part of my my life because I've never traveled outside the U.S. Right,
Oh, yeah,
so that
forgot
was a
about
big deal for me because a lot of experience,
that.
outside of what's normal. Everything's the idea that something's just a little bit strange, maybe a little scary. It's fun,
Yeah.
and I kind of want to do more of that just because it's like you never know what you're capable of until you're doing it, right?
mm-hmm.
And I mean, when I started out, I was like, my family they thought, oh, well, John's an artist, he's never gonna leave home, right? He's just gonna live at home, and I was like, no, I don't think so. And then I took a job. Was it 6,000 miles away? Is my first job. You
Yeah.
know, it's scary. It
Wow.
scared the crap out of me, but you know what? It was worth it. It's
Exactly.
always worth it if you take that chance. If it's for a good reason.
Hmm.
Adventure.
Yeah, adventure. It's refreshing, right? It's definitely like a refreshing feeling just to get something different. And then when you come back, you're right. It's definitely like I always feel such great motivation because I think what happens is we see all these artists that don't have the opportunities that we have, living in California, and we see how hard they're struggling and how hungry they are. You see that hunger within some of these students and artists, and you're like, man, what's my excuse? Like these guys are grinding every single day to try to make it, and I have all these things available to me, yet I'm not taking advantage of it. And so I think a lot of that comes into play too. And yeah, traveling the world. I mean, culturally, I'm sure John. I mean, since I had lived in Spain, a lot of that was kind of just normal to me. But I mean, imagine for the first time you're seeing it, seeing all the architecture, all the different kinds of food, like all the smells, all the just
The food
music,
was
all the different
amazing.
kinds of
Oh
stuff.
my god.
Yeah, right. It's like your
Yeah.
brain is just set into like a shock, right? Or you're just like, what the hell is
Hmm.
happening? And that's great. That's what will help spark some creativity. And we're probably gonna go back next year. There's gonna be a
Hmm.
it's gonna be a big thing, and so we want Toronto to be the same thing. We want Toronto to be the same kind of experience where this can be a yearly thing where we can start bringing out the best of the best and have fun and experience some of that culture of Canada, of what Canada has to offer. Because I've never been to Canada either, so it's gonna be funny for you and me, John, because you never have you been to Canada? Or wait, you think you have?
And I was at the other side of Niagara Falls once when I think I
Ooh,
was like
the good
maybe
side,
8 or
Other
9.
side.
the good
So
side.
Close
not
enough.
really, it's not really indicative of saying, hey, I went to Canada.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
Well,
this
you guys will
I'm
love the
super
food
excited. I'm super excited.
we
So
got Timbits and hockey. That's about it. Like, there's not much
and
different.
ice
no, no,
caps.
no, no. You got
And
Tim Hortons too. Don't you hide Tim Hortons from
Oh
me.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we do.
and Kawaii Betty is saying she wants to buy you ice caps. Yeah,
I
that's
know,
that's
I know. Betty
look
Chan wants to
forward
buy
to.
me ice caps.
Wow.
Oh, word.
Yeah, look forward to that.
Yeah. Shout outs to Betty. Wait, she's in Canada, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. See, there's already there's so many badass artists, right? You know, like in
Yeah, there are.
it's gonna be
Yeah.
an amazing time.
Sorry to go back on some of the words. Back then, you guys mentioned this amazing artist you met in Barcelona, and just like how to help him out and everything like that. Just you guys talking about it actually is helping him out. Right now, we have Adam, like curious about see his work, and we were wondering if you guys have any link to that. Do you have? Do you?
The
any of
Diablo
his
guy?
portfolio?
I can look him
Yeah,
up
the
on
Diablo
Facebook.
guy.
You can look him up. I just remember that John just came up to me and was like, dude, you
Oh.
gotta check this out. And I was like, what? And he's like, check this out. And I was like, holy shit. And I was like, wait, is that done with pen? Did he just draw that? He's like, no, he printed it out, but it looks like it's pen. And I was like, oh shit. And it was like, he's like, you know who would like this? And he told me, I was like, yeah, you're right. And I was like, damn, I didn't even know. And how the kid was young too. I forget how old he was.
He was like 18 or 19.
Yeah, I was like,
really,
what?
really
What?
good though.
I was like, someone killed this kid right now because he's gonna take over.
Right.
You know, that's inspiring too, just to see like such young kids that are just killing it, like, you know,
Absolutely.
on a daily. You're just like, oh my god, these guys are just right. They're so hungry. I was like, when I was 18, I was in the club. I know I was there. I didn't know I wanted to draw. I had soccer in the morning. Like, what? You know, it's like kids are like, oh, I'm dope now, and that's inspiring to see that the generation's getting better and better as it should. You know, so
I just linked his name in the Google Hangout chat. I don't know if you guys can read that, but
yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and these people that are maybe on the fence about going and stuff like that to Toronto. I mean, you're gonna get to see other artists, and you're gonna get to meet other people that are like-minded like you in terms of what you want to do, and it's just a great place just to meet other nice people. Like while I was there, like me and John like really got to hang out a lot because I knew John like a little bit, um, you know, on and off at events, but then having to like take a 14-hour flight with the dude and then hang out with the dude like on the daily, you definitely get to really know some people. So now it's like kind of weird because now me and John almost talk like once a week, every other week, kind of talking about life and stuff like that. And then like,
yeah.
it's awesome. You know, it's like I figured I would get along with them for sure, and I was right. But like when you're, you know, always around, you know, when you're around the people in terms of art, made a lot of great friends. I mean, we met Brian Deacon, the guy that was organizing it. He's like the Zombie and Denzel of Barcelona. We met the guy, and the guy was so awesome. We were like, dude, you're awesome, dude. We need to hang out more. And now I talk to that guy.
We hung out with that dude like the whole time, and he was super fun to hang out with.
Yeah, he's like one of the coolest guys.
If I go back to Spain, I want to look that dude up and go hang out with.
You're definitely going back because they're gonna do another one apparently. So you know.
Oh, awesome! Yay! Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
It'll be so much better next time, I swear.
Yeah. I'm sure that's probably gonna happen too with me, Zabi, and Denzel. We're gonna be like, dude, we're coming back to Canada.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. Like I want this to be a yearly thing where AJ and I can use our resources to help bring out artists that you guys want, you know, yearly, you know, to these events, you know, because a lot of times we know so many people that want to share, you know, that want to give to the community, but they don't have an outlet to do it, right?
Yeah.
And what Zabi and Denzel are doing is they're like, all right, well, we made a venue, we paid for it, we're gonna get you a flight and whatever. Like, all right, put your money where your mouth is. And now me and AJ are like, all right, I guess we got to do it. So of course we're like, yo, John, you want to go? Yo, Jamaro. I mean, we got Jamaro and John Polidora coming through. And if you don't know who Jamaro is, and I'm sure you guys can link his work, that's gonna be dope too.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get him on the stream because I've been a fan of his work since the day. And then we got local artists too, Frank Hahn coming through, and that's going to be great for people that are from Canada that want to understand what it took for him as a local artist to kind of make it out and do what he's doing now. And we got Dana Luvisi working on his own movie project. I mean, this is going to be like one of the really strong first year. And we had that weird guy named Anthony Jones. He's all right.
He's in the stream right now. Oh,
He is.
Special
God.
that guy. Wait, why isn't he in the chat? He should be in the chat.
Right.
That guy's okay.
He's all right.
But, he's probably busy with the fam. But you know, it's gonna be a really fun time, and I can't wait to get there and have some burritos, have some food. Even though I'm not a foodie, though that's kind of been established now, ironically. It's gonna be an awesome time, and hopefully we'll bring out some prizes. We're gonna do some giveaways. I mean, and I think what the biggest thing what artists will actually realize is how human we are in terms of like we're just like you guys. And I
Even
think
now.
yeah, and I think
Right
when
now.
we were kind of sharing our demos, people were like, "Wow, like I thought you guys like I put you guys on this pedestal, like especially like AJ and John and Dan. Like I thought you guys were these amazing artists. You can tell us your personal story of how you got to where you're at, and you're just like me. Like I'm you right now. Like when you were younger, and I thought that this was impossible. But now hearing how many problems and stuff you went through in your life and your career, I now know it's normal. And so think that happens a lot. We look on ArtStation and we see all this amazing work, and then we just think, wow, that person's amazing, right? And that's it. Like he was just born with it. Then all of a sudden you talk to that person, you see what they had to go through. Um, you're like, holy shit, you had to go through all that. You're like, oh, no wonder you're amazing, right? And so
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to be great too for the students and the people that come out to the Toronto event, Edge Control. They're going to see that we're just like you guys, just artists, trying to make it. I mean, I'm sure John can even he'll probably say some of his stories that he's going to say for the workshop. But John has some very interesting stories about his time in education, going to
Okay.
art school in the East Coast, and that should be a good one when we get there.
Can't wait for that. So, we're trying to get some questions going for now, but I think Zabby, you had a question for John earlier that you wanted to ask. So maybe we could jump on that
Uh,
and then start a train
Yeah, if you
question
have
train.
questions, guys, throw them in the chat. We'll sift through them and we'll get through them.
Yep.
well, I actually kind of forgot my question, but I do
Oh
know
no.
like the gist of it. So
Sweet.
I think it was regarding this like keeping line art in your work, because I used to love doing line art, and then eventually, while like studying, I learned that quote unquote is very very inefficient, and I had to drop that. And just seeing John just keep up that line work in his work is just quite amazing. I was wondering like how can one do that if they want to be efficient and also be able to do what they love with the line art.
Well, for me, it's like it's very much about the chosen aesthetic, right? I like line. I mean, a lot of my work, like I'll take the line out at the end. Like I've had to take the line out at the end, and I'm just like, it doesn't breathe the same way. And
Mm-hmm.
my personal work, I don't have to do what anybody tells me to do. I could do whatever I want. And I had a friend Danny, and every time I do my personal work, he's like, why isn't your line present? He's like, I love your line. It's like your line work is so good, and then you just paint over it and get rid of it. And I'm like, maybe that's a good point. And then at that point, I started thinking about the best ways to keep my line part of the art I'm making.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, you use what you've got, and it's like I draw all the time. I love line work. It's just it's a part of it's been a part of who I am for so long that it's like I don't really necessarily want to hide that because it's too important to me. It's like that's how I think. I'm a drawer first, a painter second, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just what's you do with your personal work what you want to you know what you want. It's part of you. And for me, it's like this is I don't know. I could paint in I could paint in a variety of other ways. I really can, but it's like I don't really want to. And it's like every idea now I want to start it as a line drawing on paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I lose that just because it's like, oh well, it may not have the most perfect lighting. It may not have the most like, you know, it may not be perfect, but it's like this is what I've chosen, you know,
Right.
and and for me it works, and it's like it works for a ton of other artists too. It's like there's no set rules, and it's like if somebody says, oh, it's not the best way to do this, it's just like that's a choice for them. That's not a choice for you. It's not a constant that should affect you,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
sometimes efficiency. I think it's kind of a weird thing that we sometimes get into this mode of we have to be efficient and to do it as fast as possible. But sometimes that's kind of ironic in a way because sometimes I feel like, well, why shouldn't it take a long time? Like I enjoy the process, right? Like I enjoy painting, so why would I want to get through it as fast as possible? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when I'm painting, it's like sometimes I just want to take my time and paint something, even though I could do it a much easier way. Sometimes I do want to just add detail and just take my time and paint every single thing, even though it wouldn't be efficient. Why? Because it's enjoying, it's soothing, right? It's a fun time. You know, it's like when you're doing an activity, you don't want it to end. You want it to keep going. So why would I want to, then have it go by as fast as possible? That's also kind of an ironic thing. So sometimes, you don't have to be efficient, or you don't have to be as fast or brag about how fast you are. Sometimes it's just about enjoying yourself. And I think that's something what John does really well with his work. You can tell that he really, for example, John, you had that one on your iPad Pro, that wizard that you did, and you're working on that for weeks, right? And probably the
Just
average
back and
person,
forth, yeah.
yeah, probably the average person was just like, dude, how are you not done yet? Why don't you post that? And it's just like, because it's for me, and I just want to take my time, and I just want to paint on it here and there a little bit, and just, but when the piece was done, you could tell that, yeah, it took a long time to do it, but that wasn't the point. The point was just like, this is what I enjoy, this is what I like, check this out. And it looked cool, it was badass. And now people are out, now everyone, I think John should be sponsored by Apple at this point, because I think like everyone's buying an iPad after seeing what John does after seeing what John does on it. And I'm like, oh shit, you could do that on iPad Pro. And now I'm like, now even I'm thinking, like, I think Danny bought one like as soon as you showed it to him with VC, like, I'm buying an iPad Pro. And I was like, I kind of want to buy one too, and I'm like, all right, I gotta really think about that. But it looks badass though.
1.5K.
Yeah, but
actually they started about $650 now.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, seriously. Like that's the low end ones, but it's the same power. It just has less space. So.
Yeah, and so.
Hey, what's up, Renault? I see you, Renault.
Oh, Renault, is that Renault, the character artist, dude?
Yeah, he's our lead character artist on Overwatch.
Tell him.
Shoot. Hey.
That guy's
hey.
That guy's the shit. I don't know him personally, but I just love his work, and I hope one day he will work for Capcom and remake all the Street Fighter characters, because they drive me insane.
Dude, him and Pior.
I'd love to see
Do you know Pior?
Yeah, I love. Dude, he's like the texture artist. When I was in school, I'd be like, I need a texture like PR. That guy's the god of like texture.
He's an amazing sculptor too.
Yeah.
Like both those guys, man.
I used
to do 3D modeling, but I'm like, I will never in any way be as good as those two guys. Never.
Yeah. I used to think some of like PR stuff. I'm like, is he using ZBrush? And then it's like he's just texturing, and I'm like, what the? I'm like, ZBrush is for pussies, right? It's like I make my stuff real. I'm like, oh my god. Those guys are amazing. I love their sculpts are so solid. I mean, not to get too much into the Overwatch stuff, man. Like that stuff looks so solid. When I'm playing it, I'm like, man, these models look so freaking, so clean, like such good. That's some master level stuff. Hopefully, we'll grab those guys next year. Throw them in here, kidnap them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And share all their love and knowledge.
By that time, we'll just have like an assembled militia that just kidnaps artists.
Yeah, we should be like, we'll just like the Liam Neeson of kidnapping artists to do workshops.
Yes.
Sometimes
if you guys want to apply for the position.
Yeah.
No, it should be secret.
We're taking applications if you want to be that person that has to kidnap families to do workshops.
We need ransom specialists and.
Yeah, you'll be returned, in due time, about a week. We'll
After we extract everything we need from you.
Yeah, exactly.
Extract your brain.
You can.
Yeah, like that's really great too. There's like just kind of the community with what's coming out with all these kind of like educational, Gumroads and the Cube Brush, all that kind of stuff. It's like there's just so many people sharing awesome content. It's just like, I think whenever I'm not drawing, I have so many like library videos from my Gumroad that I've bought that I haven't watched yet that I start watching, and I'm like, what? And that essentially now we can actually see that in person. We can go and meet someone in person and actually talk to them. And I think that's one of the biggest things too that's really cool about these workshops is like I have a lot of people that kind of like Barcelona that were kind of like, dude, I love your Gumroads. Now I get to actually talk to you about it. And I was like, I never really thought of it that way, that like you can't really talk to someone, right? If John had a Gumroad or a video out, I can't be like, John, why would you do that, right? And so like, but now like he's painting, now you get to actually ask him live in person. You get to actually question his decisions or ask him advice.
Yes, question my decisions, please. I'm here to learn.
And be like, yeah. And John, I want to ask you the question, did you learn a lot about yourself as an artist by having to kind of create a presentation about what you do? Did it feel like you learned something about yourself because now you have to explain it?
Oh, totally. Like as soon as you try and break down why you do anything, it becomes illuminating to you, and it's like I'm always saying that there's some power in knowing kind of why you do something, right? Because it's more reproducible. If you only know that you're doing something, but you just you're like, oh, okay, whatever, then it's just like, well, you can do it, but it's like, and if you but if you could communicate why, it's like, well, maybe I can help make other people better too, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I mean, at least for me, when I first started doing kind of like teaching and stuff, like I thought it would be very easy. And I think AJ can attest to this too. That I remember AJ telling me a story. He's like, "Yeah, it's actually pretty easy, right? You just demo for 3 hours, right?" And then AJ was like, "Yeah, you do that for like the first week, and that gets really old really quickly. You know, you got to have to kind of be able to break down what you're doing, and that's very very true. You know, like you can demo for so long when you teach, but then eventually you have to be able to break things down. And then, you know, when I first started doing it, I was like, wait, why do I do that? You know, like, is that necessarily the best way? Like, how do I even explain that? And then all of a sudden you have to start kind of reverse engineering, you know, what you're doing to kind of start figuring out, you know, is this like, how do I convey this? And I had this challenge every day sometimes because certain people learn differently. So it's not always the blanket statement of like do X, Y, and Z for each student, you know, with our mentorship. Sometimes I'd look at a different student and be like, okay, I have to break it down this way for this person. I have to try different methods of trying to get through to the student, and you know, some work and some don't. And but that in turn really helps me figure out my process as well. And so that's why like teaching is as big as honor for us to go out there and share our content as much as it is for the people that are going to come and watch us. You know, I'm sure John can attest that he learned a lot from just sharing his stuff for the first time. You know, it could be definitely nerve wracking, but now I assume that's why I'm really excited to see John share his work this time around, because this is the second time. And usually, what I've noticed is that when people share their work for the first time or their first workshop, the second one, they definitely like get a lot better. They're like, okay, like I figured some things out. Now I'm gonna kill it. So, you know,
I think
John's gonna come through.
I'm gonna try and have it be a little bit more interactive than maybe it was for the first one. You
Yeah,
know,
I
I
actually
want
I
people to
love
talk and
interactive.
feel comfortable to talk to me because,
Yeah.
um, like just personally, like as soon as I make something a conversation, it becomes like way easier for me to actually just be myself and really, you know, uh, I don't know, the art conversations are like one of the best parts of being an artist, right? The
Yeah.
conversations that we have, it's like most people they may not be able to understand that, but
It's too
it's
nerdy.
like you can really kind of read into somebody's passion a little bit more when they're talking about their art or their approach to art or some fundamental or some constant that they've seen in art, right? It's
Mhm.
just, you know,
Exactly.
to me that's one of the best parts. It's just like this whole other language that we have that, like, you know, most people will never understand, you know?
And there's a language barrier too when we were in Barcelona, yet we were still able to kind of communicate things so clearly. And you really see how universal just the form of drawing is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool thing. And I think what's actually really funny is that John can attest to this as well, that I think where we grew very close with the other people that came to the event wasn't even at the workshop. It was actually like at the mixer where we were just at a bar. So like after our workshops, you know, after we were kind of done, you know, showing and doing portfolio reviews, we all went to a bar. And to me, I felt like that's where we really became a lot very close to some of the artists and got to really know them, because it's a very kind of non like, you know, formal setting. It's like you have a beer, I have a beer, let's talk about anything from art to politics to culture. And all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, like I'm watching John get stuck in a conversation with, you know, some person that he probably never would have met in his entire life from a different part of the world. And AJ's talking to some other person, and then there are two other people that are both Spaniards, but they didn't know each other, and now they're having a conversation, right? And it's just like all of a sudden everyone is learning so much about each other, and I'm like, that to me is like so much fun, because now it's just like we're just talking. It's just like it's like a think tank. It's like you have all these creative people in one space, and there's alcohol involved. It's like now we're just talking, we're just shooting the shit and talking about stuff. And I think those are kind of the best moments. I'm not sure how John felt about those as well.
Yeah, no, I think alcohol helps break it down, but it's, you know, I mean, for me, it's just like I think it's that the commonality that you know we've all been drawn to do this for a living or for fun or both, right? For me, it's like it's much easier for me to relate to anyone if they make something, you know. It doesn't matter what. It's like you could be a musician or like you know, culinary artist or whatever. But it's like if you're dedicating your life to making something, I'm gonna find you interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You know, it's just that's how I am, and I'm assuming that's how a lot of other artists are. Maybe they can't express that or they don't know that yet, but you know, if you dedicate your life to something so wholeheartedly, you gravitate to other people that possibly feel the same way, you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time when we go out there. Dude, this render is looking sick. Sorry, I'm like I was supposed to. I had something I wanted to say, but I'm just looking at the beak, and I'm like, damn, that beak is good. I
Yeah,
got caught
John,
out in the moment.
about John's work right now, there are people being curious about his process. Like, did you draw that line in the Photoshop or did you scan it?
Oh, okay. Well,
And yeah.
I do that. I do that all the time at work. Like I draw in Photoshop all the time. Um, but when I go home, I like to draw on paper, and that's what my sketchbook book kind of looks like, right? So I scan it in, and then I'll break it down here for a second. Let's see.
Sweet.
So I'll take this drawing, and basically like I'll scan it in, and I'll tweak it and clean it up, right? And then I'll mask it off, and basically then I'd have this one thing that I do now that I didn't always do, and I make it like a texture pass, right? Basically, I have this brush that applies like almost like a photocopy paper texture to it, but it's like I have a lot more control with it than just a random texture brush, and it adds this like toning to it that just creates just enough of an amount of noise that I like to paint over, so that then when I start applying my color, right, which is basically just like I'll drop in a local color layer, and then I may overlay something to just warm it up and tint it and bring it back together, and then I'll drop in some quick shadows to just kind of give it a little bit of volume. Um, Basically, I'll do that, and I'll put a screen layer over the line just to kind of soften it. But the line is always there, and I will not get rid of the line, even though it's like I could zoom it out and it'll still sort of read, right? But it's for me, I like that. I like having the line, you know. I mean, it still reads. It's just like for me,
Yeah.
it's a choice, you know, to have that extra like. And I love the noise of a traditional drawing. There's just something I can't reproduce in Photoshop. I mean, maybe I don't have the proper brushes, but I've been looking for like a long time, and there's something that I get when I bring in a scan drawing that I can't seem to do with Photoshop.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think maybe it's because Photoshop. I think there's that disconnect because there's like the tablet or like the Cintiq and then the application, and
Well,
also I think
yeah,
because I'm so powerful that you can't help but feel invincible. I would say because
yeah,
when you're
no,
drawing
totally,
on
man.
pencil, you're like okay, like this line has to be right, otherwise I have to erase it. You know, like they're like I could possibly mess it up. Where in Photoshop, you kind of have that invulnerability of like Control Z, like is like you know if you have Control Z in real life, you would probably do the stupidest things in the world, right? But like when you don't have that option, it's like it's kind of like paint traditionally. You kind of have to really take your time and really kind of respect the drawing in the sense that like you could probably mess it up, so you can't just kind of just draw whatever. You have to kind of take your time there, and I think that's where the sketching kind of comes from because it forces you to kind of really have an idea what you're doing, or kind of just take your time. And it kind of and that invulnerability and that kind of imperfectness with the pencil kind of creates a lot of life that when you bring it into Photoshop, then you have all these tools to kind of start refining it and start kind of making different decisions.
I think the risk involved, right, makes you make better lines
Yeah,
because you get to a point where you're just like, this line will be as it is, and I will make it work, right? And that mentality, it's like because I'm approaching line drawing with pencil, like I think a lot of pen artists that work in pen do, and I'm just like the line that will be the one I will use, right?
yeah,
So ultimately, like you do that enough, and you start pulling lines that you want, right? I highly recommend that anyone who works digitally at least draws on paper, like as regularly as they can, because there's something that will make you a lot better at Photoshop that that you can't, like, it doesn't translate the other way around necessarily. Like Photoshop may not make you a better traditional artist, but there's something about drawing or painting in real life that will make you a way better digital artist too. You know?
Yeah, it definitely can go both ways. I mean, that's why, like, I life draw almost every other weekend, and it's that vulnerability that, like, there's risk. Like, I don't get the same kind of, like, I don't know, not necessarily like adrenaline, but it's kind of like that a little bit when you have like a 2 minute pose, and you're like, okay, shit, the time is ticking, and it's almost like a game, it's like almost kind of like a puzzle, because you're like, here's the model, I only have 2 minutes. I have to imagine this, like, what do I need from this model to convey this pose? And you start figuring out your lines, your strokes. And luckily, I have a good friend, Kevin, that's like amazing. He was trained by like the greats. And so he's like one of those life drawing masters that just kills it every single time. And then, like, I look at his work as I'm drawing and I'm like, okay, what is he doing that I'm not doing? And like, how is he breaking things down? And then we'll talk about theory, about that kind of stuff. And it's like, it's really, really fun. But I think that helps me make better decision making, which in turns can help you be efficient. But I would also kind of argue too that digital can actually really help people traditionally. I actually know some traditional artists that actually will take photos of their paintings, like when they're kind of halfway through, or kind of when they're in kind of like a juncture in their painting. They'll take a picture of it and they'll actually explore color options in Photoshop. So they'll take a picture of it, scan it in, then paint over it in Photoshop, and do different versions to see which is kind of the best idea, and then they'll do it traditionally on the uh, on the canvas. And I never even thought of that. I mean, that's actually a really good idea. He's like, yeah, because I don't want to make a mistake, or I'm kind of unsure where I can go with it. Sometimes I'll take a picture of it, bring it to Photoshop or Painter, and I'll just do a couple rough renders, and then I'll be like, okay, this is the best route to go. So it definitely can go both ways. But what John said, like, you can definitely learn a lot. I think fundamentals and just traditional drawing like will never go away. To be honest, I think it's like you always need that. It's like eating your vegetables. It's like doing your push-ups. Like, you kind of just always need it, and I can't necessarily tell you why, but something about just painting with pencil or just kind of having limited resources, it just makes you really efficient and really like clever, I would say. Um, like I see John's lines and I'm like, damn, this guy's good. Like, this guy's like so efficient with his stuff, and so I think there's a lot of life to it. I think sometimes it's hard to not to get that digitally.
Awesome. Awesome. Do we got any more questions?
If I'm completely honest, Kalen, like I'm working on my comic, and I roughed that shit out on like printer paper in 2 hours. Like my my this thing that I'm working on, this short thing, and then I scanned it in, and then I used Photoshop to lay it out, and now I'm transferring that onto paper because I'm going to draw the actual thing on paper in pencil, right? But I wouldn't have had it wouldn't have been nearly as seamless without Photoshop. So
Yeah.
in that respect, I totally agree. It's like you use the tools that are available to you to make your life easier. I'm just saying that, like, when it comes to like leveling up your mind and your skill, you can't ignore really either. I think probably you can't ignore digital because it's so much a part of like um, everyone's workflow. I
Mm-hmm.
just I see so many people that are really good at digital art, and they ignore this other part of it that's like, to me, it's like I can't even express in words how much more I feel like I've grown since I've prioritized drawing. You know?
Yeah, I think both. I think it'd be silly not to utilize both. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I think
exactly.
that's what it's about too as well. Like, utilizing both can have a lot of great results and pay you big dividends. That's why, like, I look forward to life drawing. Some people don't look forward to that, but I'm like, life drawing, yeah, like it's awesome. I look forward to traditional painting. Like, I'm always telling Kevin, I'm like, yo, when are we gonna paint again? Because then it's like there's just so much like awesome stuff. Like, I don't think I've yet to meet a badass that like isn't good traditionally, that like can't paint. You know what I mean? That's like they're
Yeah.
really good. Like, even like texture artists or like character modelers, like the ones that are really badass, like those ones probably sculpt really badass, or like they can probably draw if they wanted to, but they just kind of choose not to. I mean, it's like, or that's not their job per se. But I think it's also just like being creative in any medium. where like the tool doesn't matter. I think that's a big thing too, where it's like if someone wanted to choose modeling, you know, or choose texture or choose sculpting, they're gonna kill in any medium just because like it doesn't matter to them like like the tool. It's just a matter of like the idea and how they express it. And there might be like a learning curve, but most badass artists like are not hindered by what tool they're using. And I'm sure John at Blizzard, you probably have a lot of artists like that that could
Oh
probably
yeah.
do a job that you're doing right now, but because they're so badass, they're like a modeler or they're a texture artist. But if they wanted to be a concept artist, they probably could. You're like,
Oh
God
yeah,
damn, why are you
no,
so
most
talented?
definitely. I mean, we have so many people that are amazing artists that could easily do my job, you know? But maybe they prefer modeling or they prefer lighting or text or making textures. Like there's so many amazing people that's like what they choose is interesting to them is what they've, spent their life getting good at because they like it, you know? It's just like just because I was a modeler and now I'm a concept artist, that doesn't mean that that concept art is always more fun. It's just it was more fun to me, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really cool when I mean I love to see kind of like I call it pocket talents. Like I love to kind of learn people's pocket talents that they have in like their back pocket where they're like, yeah, like I'm a texture artist, but I also animate. And you're like, wait, what? Since when? And also you see the animations and they're badass. So it's like, oh, I'm a concept artist, but I also program. You're like, what? Where did you have that? Like, you never told anyone about that. You're like, yeah, I do on the side for fun. And it's usually like those kind of like I do it on the side for fun is like the shit where they're like really good at it and you're like you
Yeah.
could be working doing this and you're like no, I just like it for that.
But yeah, it's because like I think that the fun that they get from it, doing it professionally might ruin it, you know?
Yeah.
Like I love drawing on paper, but I might not enjoy it so much if I had somebody forcing me to do it a certain way or to to art direct me and there's something to be said for doing for yourself and it being yours, right? No matter
Mhm.
what it is that you're doing, you know?
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think I think that's some people personally like to kind of keep art um that way as well. Like I know some people that actually could work as a working artist, but they actually have a day job and they choose to have a day job. And I kind of ask them like why would you want to do that? And they're like, well, because when you get paid for it and people tell you what to do, it kind of doesn't become fun for me. And art has always been my kind of hobby, and I don't want to actually make it my profession. I want it to be the hobby, so that way it can be just for me and I can just enjoy it.
Hmm.
And that's actually kind of a weird thing to kind of comprehend because I'm like, what? You're supposed to like get a job and do all this stuff. But for some people, like that's what makes them happy. And I had to realize I'm like, actually, like that dude is totally right. Like you don't have to necessarily like do it for a job. You can have a day job that you want that pays the bills and whatever, and you can just do this on the side. And I've seen some people that do that and are very, very happy doing that as well. And that's kind of a crazy thing to realize as well, that like
Yeah,
sometimes the
man.
job aspect, kind of kills it in a way.
You got to think about like I mean because it's really easy to lose perspective because when you're an artist and you work for a really long time for somebody else, you forget why you got into it in the first place and that joy that you get from just making something for yourself, right? And it's really important to reestablish that and it's like and have something for yourself,
Mhm.
that's like because I mean like I don't regret working professionally for so long at all because I didn't like I always had the inventiveness. I didn't have the skill, right? I learned the skill. I learned how to get better at rendering things. I learned, my whole really my whole art education from the job. So I don't regret it in the slightest. And I've made a ton of friends and I'm very, very happy working professionally too. But it's like um at the same time, like, it also it informs on every decision I make. I have, art directors in the back of my head like, "Oh, is that right? Is that what you really want to do this time?" And I'm like, "Shut up. Yes, it is."
Yeah. Um, it's funny because I was actually talking to an artist the other day that was kind of like, man, like I'm so nervous about getting a job. I feel like I'm gonna let people down. Like, am I gonna make it and stuff like that? And I ironically told him I was like, when you get a job, like you think all your problems are gonna be solved.
Yeah.
It's not the case at all. Like a lot of people think that, and I thought the same way too. And it's funny that as much as I love what we do, like working robot pencil, doing client work, doing all this stuff, making a living, a part of me, the nostalgia, I guess, like kind of just misses like the times of when we were in lab 257, me, AJ, Edgar, and the guys. None of us had jobs, and it was just hanging out in the lab till midnight and just painting. And there was no one telling us what to do, no one telling us what to paint. It was us just painting for the sake that we wanted to learn, right? It was just pure innocence of like, how does Gino do this, or how does Rob do this, or how does Craig Mullins do this? And no one knows, right? Because it's before YouTube, before all that stuff, and us just trying to figure it out. And then after that, saying, "Hey, let's go to Denny's and eat some food, and let's keep painting, and let's play some card games, some board games, and let's just keep drawing in our sketchbooks." It's like those kind of moments right there where there were like no responsibilities whatsoever, of just like all I had to do is go to school and do our work. Like some of those moments, like I would kill to have back again and try to enjoy those more. So I told a student, I was like, like just because like you get the job, you think most problems are going to be solved. I mean, a lot of things will open up to you, but also a lot of new problems. Like there will always be problems, so that you should always kind of just enjoy the time that you have with your peers and your colleagues. And I encourage everyone to do that. If you're in school right now and you're worried, yeah, that worry is always going to be there. Whether it's could be getting a job, it's always going to be life stuff, man. And so try to enjoy the moments that you have with your colleagues and your peers, because once you guys like all go off your separate ways, like it's hard. I mean, I'm sure John probably has friends like that like you had friends that you grew up with learning. Now they're all probably all over the world, and the idea of getting everyone together is probably next to impossible. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what it is for me nowadays. AJ, Nino, Edgar, like we're all so spread out, and those are like people that I grew up with, and to get us all together, it's so hard. But back in the day, that was such an easy thing. You just show up and then hang out.
I think you could say that that's true of no matter what point you are in life too, because it's like we have these jobs that bring us all together, but it's like this is where we all happen to be at this moment, right? And you may not have that moment again, right? It could be school, it could be work, but it's like if you meet somebody awesome that you love working with, uh, enjoy it while you have it, because it's like you never know when that circumstance will change. You never know when you'll be working with somebody else, and it's like, you know, I make friends everywhere I go. I love my team, but I also have loved my past teams too. But it's like I miss not working with a lot of the people I have worked with, you know? And it's like you got to remember that it's like, you know, the circumstance that you're in, you won't ever really repeat it again. So it's like, you might as well. And use that as a learning experience too, cuz yeah, I mean, like, especially in my case, I would not be anywhere near as talented, well, not talented, as good as I am with painted, right? Or painting in particular, if I had not worked with like so many amazing illustrators in the past, right? I'm a product of my environment, and
Yeah.
I completely appreciate that every day. So it's, I don't forget, and I miss the crap out of a lot of the people that taught me so much.
Yeah.
So it's just like school is school, but for me, work was school. So I would just say any situation where you're surrounded by talented, willing, friendly people that just want everybody there wanting to make cool shit and get better. Treasure those moments.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think a lot of students are. So sometimes we get caught into like the superficial part of it, like getting likes, and it's hard sometimes too, because when you see like sometimes you see all your friends are all getting jobs and getting stuff like that. It's kind of hard to remember that, like, it's not necessarily about that, but it's about really kind of enjoying yourself and enjoying those moments. And I think that's what you said. You nailed it on the head. Like, some of those things you may not get again. I'm sure there are people that probably have left Blizzard or probably lived internationally, that probably went back home, and next time you're going to see them again, you really have no clue when that's going to happen. And so those kind of moments like that, you're like, man, I wish I would have like kind of enjoyed more of those times hanging out with that person, or kind of really enjoying it instead of being worried about a deadline or something that was going on in my life. And granted, it's always hindsight, you know what I mean? But um, yeah, you definitely need to enjoy the time that you have, because you don't know when it's going to happen again. And those kind of moments are memorable, and those are the kind of moments that we want to create at Toronto. We want someone to come out of that and be like, man, that was cool. Like I'm really glad that I went because I had a lot of things that I couldn't necessarily get from just being at home, learning on my own, learning from the internet. So I think it's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be
mean,
a
there's
good
so many people. Like, I mean, I I love working with people. There's so many people that though that I've met that I've never worked with that I still, or really even met in real life that I still talk to pretty regularly online. I mean, and
yeah.
that's the awesome thing about the internet is that like the fact that we all have this thing in common. It's like barriers go down. Very easy to just talk to people. Relate to them, give advice. Feedback. Oh my God, feedback. So valuable.
Yeah, and
It's
not
just
even like that kind of feedback, but sometimes just like a random like idea where someone says something that wasn't meant to be a critique or feedback, and you're like, wait, what did you say? And you're like, oh, I just thought that something like something, and you're like, oh shit, you're a genius, right? And all of a sudden, like it takes you off from that, and that wouldn't have happened if that person, if you didn't meet that random person. I've had that happen so many times where someone has given me an idea even though it wasn't like direct, it wasn't like meant for me, or they didn't do it directly, but indirectly they gave me an idea or gave me an avenue that I wouldn't necessarily think of. It's kind of like being a detective, where all of a sudden like someone gives you a clue on accident, and you're like, oh wait a minute, like I can solve it. And I think a lot of that stuff kind of happens in Barcelona. I don't know if that ever happens to you, John, like in your day to day work,
Yeah,
but
I mean, we all learn different things at different times at different rates, right? And
yeah,
it's like different things occur to us in different ways. So it's like working with other people, having friends that are, that you can relate to and talk to. It's like the things that they see, the things that they do, sometimes with thought, or sometimes like without thinking, um, may not occur to us, right? And when we hear it, it's like there's so many times I'm like, I'd never have thought of it that way, right? And as soon as you hear it, you have that aha moment, and it makes your life so much easier for in so many ways going forward because this person said something that they do all the time that hadn't maybe even occurred to them, right? Maybe it now they're like, oh wow, that's I hadn't even thought of that, right? Now it makes your life better, and it all came from just open discussion. There's no ego. Everyone just being willing to share.
hmm
It's like I'm not talking about process even. I'm talking about like, knowing why something works in art, why something works in design, and being able to say, you know, like I've noticed that when you do this with shape, that this is the result, right? Those kind of things are just like, oh my God, that might be a universal truth, you know? You never know. You never know because it's like everyone learns different things at different paces, and it's really important to respect that fact.
yeah. And even life stuff too. Sometimes it's not even art related, but sometimes there are life things that are kind of tripping you up, and then someone inadvertently gives you the solution to that, which then opens you up to then be able to kind of keep at your art. There's so many things, and I think a lot of that just happens to be the more you surround yourself with new things all the time, or new people, or these events, the more opportunities there are for these kind of aha moments to occur, and there's more kind of moments where you might find some common ground or spark an idea that might possibly change your life. And that's what these workshops are about. And I think that happened a lot in Barcelona. I think a lot for me and a lot for everybody else. And if people are wondering, why you should go to these kind of events, because some people are like, oh man, it's expensive, I shouldn't go, like is it really worth it? And some people kind of look at it like, what am I getting out of it? Am I going to get like a drawing out of it? Am I going to get a critique out of it? Am I going to get a job out of it? And I think sometimes we have to learn to not necessarily look at it as a very kind of like monetary type gain, or a very like objectional type game. Like, what am I going to get out of it? Sometimes you can't put a price on these things, or you can't necessarily quantify it of what you're going to get out of these workshops. Sometimes what you get out of it is inspiration or mentality or a mindset or even idea that may just come back later on to really help you. And I think that's kind of why workshops are so cool or so fun, because you leave with such inspiration that, like, if you were asked to quantify it, right, John, you couldn't say like, oh, I had 5 points of inspiration, right? You're just like, it's just a feeling, right? It's like a
Well,
feeling that you're
yeah, I
like,
mean, like a lot of times it's like I don't think like you really understand the uh, the effect of something until way after.
yeah,
It's like I might not have thought of something even when I saw it or saw somebody do it in front of me in Barcelona, and then months later, I might have been like, oh wow, yeah, that affected me, or it's affecting me now because I'm aware of it. You know, like you never know. I honestly, I'm recently I'm a big believer that um, art is it's you can get skill by doing things repeatedly, right? But you become a better artist by experiencing more than what you do when you're sitting at your desk, right? Because you're observing life, you're observing the world, all of your experience, the cumulative effect of everything that you are makes you a better artist, right?
Yeah.
And I honestly, like, that's one reason why I'm very very excited to come, because it's like every time I do something like this, I feel like I'm getting better as an artist and a person at the same time. And it's, I don't know, it's just kind of wonderful to realize that it's like you don't have to sit and draw and paint all the time to get good,
Hmm.
right? You will get good if you, like, if you work towards it. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying that, like, there's other aspects of life that will make you a good artist, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, agreed. So we're getting to the hour mark here. I know you kind of have to be somewhere in the near future, but Zabi and Denzel, are there any kind of questions that there may you guys
Uh,
have that people have been asking? Maybe we can kind of go through that. Like John, what are you looking at in time here, man? I know you have to go to the airport.
Yeah.
Um,
uh I don't have to go to the airport. I do have to drive somewhere.
or the drives.
um
That's what I put it.
okay.
uh Hold on, let me you asked my question. I'm going to ask my friend.
Yeah, there you
Okay.
go. He's
I
doing
can
that.
hear a
We
little
don't
bit.
we don't want him to miss his stuff because he's taking time out of his Sunday. You know how it is.
Someone earlier was asking about your miscreant and servant time lapse and what if that was going to be posted anytime soon or something.
Oh, my miscreants and thieves one, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
that one I have to edit it together because I'm just like, I'd rather be drawing on paper, and
Okay.
and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
haven't
yeah.
really had the chance to put it together on my PC yet. But I plan to. I have all of the raw files. I just have to actually edit it together
Okay.
and put it up.
I got
Um,
you.
there is a very very short form one that's up somewhere that I think I linked, but it's very very quick.
Okay.
So the time lapse is really, I don't know if it's all that educational. It's cool, but it's I don't think it's as comprehensive as the full one. And I'll put that up. You know what? I'll try to do that this week. I feel really shitty that I haven't actually put it up yet, but um, only because, like, I it's like if I really cared about raising my internet presence, I would be better about this. But I'm just like, I just have too much fun drawing, and I put off all the things that are really important. So I apologize. I'll try and do it this week and put it up sometime this week.
Okay.
That's the best answer I've got.
Cool. Alright.
We'll take it.
Yeah. That's about
Yeah.
it.
Any more questions, guys, in the
Oh.
chat? Just put it out there.
Yeah, I don't think there are, but I did want to ask about your comic. Like, some people might not be familiar with your work, so I was hoping like you could elaborate on like what you do and like like your comic stuff, maybe things like that.
Well, my comic it's fantasy, right? Because I like to draw fantasy. A lot of the stuff, like even this character, exists in my fantasy world, right? In the
He's gonna sell me some potions. I think that's the guy.
I was just like, I always think that the first name that occurs to me is going to be the best name for the character. So I usually put it in the file name. And this dude's name is Birdo, Sorcerer Supreme.
For
For now. But Birdo is definitely, that's his name, Birdo.
That is awesome.
I also
the
like-
Pirate's dick.
okay.
I like putting characters that are clearly more intelligent, more human, right? But they're still birds, right? In this case, next to birds that are not human, or necessarily intelligent like a human, right? So it's like bird and bird. I like putting lots of like subtle, funny, absurd things that don't make any sense logically in my work, because it's just like, well, how could that work that way? And I'm like, because it exists in the world I'm making, and no one gets to tell me what I can do.
Exactly.
You know, I don't know. I'm hoping my comic will be funny. My teaser isn't necessarily funny. It's just a very cool little thing that I think will introduce people to at least the look of my comic and some of the characters. But it's not like not really funny. And I'm doing it because it's like I've never done a comic before. Um,
Mhm.
I've never done sequential anything before. I love comics. I always have. I really wanted to do comics when I was a kid, but I um, never really was hired to do that or storyboarding before, so I never really got the experience to learn to get better at it. So I gave myself a project and I was like, I want to make this comic, but the problem is my comic story is so big and there's so many characters and so many things going on that I don't feel like I could do that right away. And I know that because I've been trying to draw it all year and I haven't been able to because I don't know necessarily what I'm doing. So a few weeks ago, I was at a sketch group and my friend said, well, if you can't do that, why don't you make something simple, something short form, and work on that and try to get that to work and then see if you can do that and then make your comic after that, which it really should have occurred to me, but it didn't.
I
And
got
then
a
and
question.
it's like then I sat down and like I said, in about 2 hours, I wrote something really quick and roughed out some boards, and then I brought it into Photoshop, relayed it out as pages for a comic book, and uh, I have a 10-page teaser I'm working on pretty much right now. Well, not right now. This isn't part of it, but I'm drawing everything on paper, and I'm very, very excited that I will be able to get to do my comic book literally anywhere because it's on paper, and I really like not having to sit at my computer. So it's like if I have to do paint or clean up on this thing, it's going to be on my iPad. If I'm going to draw it, I'm going to draw it on the go on paper. I honestly, I just get more excited about the act of making the thing than the thing being done. Because I'm weird and
Yeah,
you
the
know.
journey.
I can hear it too.
Yeah. How does this bird talk? That's I'm curious. What did you say? Who's is it
I
like
was
a
You're just
thinking,
really focused on the beak, aren't you?
I
I was
just
thinking
picture him
maybe,
like selling me like stuff.
I was thinking maybe he doesn't, or maybe he's telepathic.
He's telepathic, so he
One
just
of
looks
those.
at you with like the bird jerky
But
movement that a bird
I
has.
still, the thing is, it's like he's obviously he's smarter than the average bird, but I think he still tweets. You know, right?
I can see that.
Wait, I think the yellow bird talks. I think the bird like has a deep
Yeah.
Ooh.
he speaks for him.
Yes, maybe he's like Barry White, right?
Yeah. He's like, yeah, you're like, excuse me, where is the inn? And he's like, the inn is over there. You're like, what the hell?
Who's
You're like,
talking?
I need some potions. Where do I get the potions at? The
Okay, I
bird just
got a
looks
really
at you.
good idea. Maybe this wizard, this guy, this sorcerer, he was very smart, but he put his intelligence inside of this bird, right? So
Yeah.
now and the bird's mind is now in this guy, right? So
Oh, so you can. It's like
he's
Hordor or something like that.
this guy's the muscle, this guy's the brains, right?
Oh.
That's cool.
Ah,
Yeah.
see?
He's like Bastion, like the bird on Bastion.
Yes,
He
but
controls.
with another bird.
Yeah. Right. So that bird's the badass. That's why his eyes are closed because he's like telepathically making the bird do this
Those are
thing.
neat eyes. Oh.
Yeah. The
So-
bird that bird has a psycho eye right now. That little gleam. I'm like, I don't trust that bird. I feel like he might try to bite me.
Like
He's gonna
what a
beat the shit
murderer
out of
looks
your eyes.
like.
You better watch out, man.
Yeah.
See, that's fun right there. It's just like just being silly with it, where you just like, you know what, F it. Like this bird doesn't talk; it just tweets at you. You can't understand it. Or like, what if you were playing a game where like these birds are everywhere, and every time you ask it something, it never gives you the answer. It just tweets. You're like, why do I even talk? To them? Like, why are they even here? Like, why is there an
I would
option to
play
talk
that.
to them?
Oh man.
I would still play that game.
Yeah, I'd be like, ask that
Uh,
bird.
We have a question from Linda. Lin.
Linqua?
Anyways, I'm
Linqua
sorry,
seven.
Linqua. Sorry, I butchered your name. So the question is, what can we do if a company we're aiming for is too far away from home? Like I'm living in Asia, but I want to work at a studio in UK. Specifically because I don't really have any connections to the companies in my country, and I find it difficult to go to meetups and just win people's trust. I find that the best bonds are forge through hardships together, say in school or at work?
I would say that it's obviously so. I could probably kind of relate this to people that have come to California. And I think the biggest start I think that you can do is probably start going to events that are there. So for instance, like we in California, we have CTN, we have GDC, we have, I mean, God knows how many events in California. And ironically, a lot of people that come to it are from overseas. And so, and it's because they want to work there. And so it may not be necessarily like a quick fix to that problem. It may take years, even um, like months, even years to kind of make those connections. But I think kind of going to these events and putting yourself out there and just meeting like-minded people, I think that's probably the best step moving forward. So it's like if you want to work in the UK, I'm pretty sure they have a bunch of workshops always there, like schoolism, and like I think they have the one workshop I think that like Levy does. I think I'm not sure if he still does it anymore, but there are a lot of workshops, a lot of events out there that I would just work on maybe saving money and going out there for a week and then meet some people and just at least just go and have fun. And I'm pretty sure you're gonna meet other artists and other stuff and make connections. And next thing you know, you'll be be over here. I have a lot of people that come from like Australia to come to GDC and stuff like that, and they've made a lot of great connections, a lot of great friends. And obviously, they're still in Australia, but now they have contacts, they have people they can talk to, and now it's kind of like puts their foot in the door at least in terms of understanding the culture, understanding where they want to work, and just understanding what they need to do next time. And so I'm sure those people will come back again next year and they'll be even better for it. But I think just having a good plan like that will help you kind of really figure that part out. But I think having to just and possibly going to school, like I have our friend Frank. He's from Taiwan, and he went to school uh, in Orange County with us, and that was because there weren't really opportunities for where he was. So he's like, "Well, I'll be an international student. I'll go overseas." And even though the school wasn't that great, it was mostly for him to kind of just get here. So because he was already here, he could go to GDC, he could go to all the events, he could make contacts, and then he just worked his ass off and got a job. And now he works over at Naughty Dog. So there's ways like that. So the best way I would say is if wherever you're from, chances are there's probably someone like you that works in London right now. I would probably go and contact them if you can, get a hold of them and see, hey, you're just like me. How did you make it to where you are now? Like what was your process? And hopefully there might be some corollaries or things that you might want to do as well. And that's kind of like why we have Frank Kong. Why we have like a local artist for our workshop. It's because Frank is from Canada, and so there are probably some Canadian artists that are like, hey, how did you do what you did, being a Canadian artist like me, and hopefully he can then, provide some insight. So, I would say maybe try to look at other people that are where you were and see how they got there as well. And that might be a good start.
Mhm.
But I have a little something to say too. I think if the idea is that you want to work someplace but it's really far away, you have to be in it for the long haul, right? So you have maybe build up a game plan of like, yes, you may eventually want to work at this place where if they're making the kind of game or project that you want to be involved in, maybe that they have exactly the aesthetic you want to learn and be good at, right? But you got to look at it as maybe an eventuality, but not an immediate reality, right? So think about it in terms of steps. Like, if you don't have a job yet at all, get an art job there, right? Even if it's not in games or it's not in animation, it's not exactly what you're looking for. It doesn't matter, right? Work towards it. Keep it in mind. Like, talk to the online community, go to the events, like Kalen's saying, but realize that it's like, even for those of us that live in the same country of the studios that we want to work at, it isn't always this immediate thing. It's like people work towards the jobs that they really want. And it's like, if you really want it, you got to remember that it's not something that you may get right away, you know? And
Yeah.
it's got to, if it's important enough, then you're going to have a plan, you know?
Yeah. Perseverance is where I think that what John touched on is really really huge there, because a lot of people always kind of want the quick answer, like, oh, email this person, and you're done, right? And I got a job. And it's like, that's not always the case. And that's where people give up. And so perseverance and that kind of mentality will always take you very, very far. And what he said, realize that it may be like a 5, 10 year step process, but if that's worth it to you and you're willing to sacrifice that and do that to get to where you want to be, then let's do it, you know? And what's also cool too is that in the chat, someone just said like, hey man, I work at ILM as a texture artist. Like I could probably help you out with some questions. And then someone even said, hey, I used to work at the company that you want to work at. Maybe I can help you out like with some questions, right? It's like, boom, just right there. Like just from her coming into this chat and just asking a question, these people bringing people together in the chat essentially may have possibly solved her problem, inadvertently with a couple of like, oh, this is some steps you could probably look at taking. So
That's
awesome.
crazy.
That's
That is beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
And the perseverance, like Jamaro's journey to Blizzard.
Yeah, man.
Just
Like
amazing.
that's a really good example. It's like he knew what he wanted. He worked towards it. I mean, that dude has been a Blizzard fan for a really long time. You know, I mean, like I love Blizzard games, but I'm not the hardcore fan that a lot of other people are. You know,
Yeah.
like, but it's like for me, what the appeal was, oh, look at the amazing textures they're painting. Because at the time, that was my jam. I was a texture artist, right? And I really wanted to get good at painting. And I saw what they were doing on World of Warcraft, and I was like, that's where I want to be. How do I do that, right? And you know, I had, because I was in the game industry already, I had friends and connections to help me get the connect to talk to people there, right? And at the same time, I was able to build a portfolio that they were looking, you know, that made sense for what they were looking for at the time. Because it's a lot of it is timing too. It has nothing to do with like, oh my God, this person's so amazing, we have to hire them now, even though we don't need them now. You know, it's like a lot of it is like right time, right place, but being ready for that. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like, you know, that's what I'm saying about a plan. It's like, you know, if you know what you want, it's going to be easier to get what you want if you're like ahead of it. It's like, this company isn't looking for a concept artist now, but maybe they will be. I'm going to show them what I can do, right? So that when they have a job, maybe they'll keep me in mind. And that has worked so many times for a lot of people I know that are extremely successful, you know? So have a plan.
Yeah, and to add what John said on that one is that be ready. You know, when you get your job, like it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that you got a job at where you're working at. And I think Jamaro is like a perfect example of that, because I followed Jamaro for a long, long time, and I saw his work, and then one day it says Jamaro is working at Blizzard, and the first thing that you think is you're like, oh yeah, of course, like that totally makes sense. I'm surprised he hasn't been there like like 5 years ago, because he's been doing this type of work for God knows how long. Like his work is amazing and it would fit there really, really well. Like you want that to be said about you. You know, it should be, oh, Link got a job at ILM. It's like, oh yeah, like looking at her work, yeah, she totally belongs there. Like she would be a good fit. So when the opportunity comes and knocks on your door, you know, you should be ready for it. And I think I was telling some of my students, I'm like, be ready. You know, if you want to work at Blizzard, if all of a sudden John Polidora comes into your breaks into your house and is like, I need an artist right now, are you ready? Right? You shouldn't be like wait, no, I gotta get my work together, I'm not really sure, you know. It should be like, fuck yeah, John, I've been waiting for you, where the hell have you been, you know. It's like if this bird breaks in, right, and it's like, are you ready to go on? The question should be like, yeah, dude, yeah, I got my potions right here, I've been waiting for you. It shouldn't be hesitation, right? So when success comes, it shouldn't be foreign to you because you've been working at it for so long. And because you have made your plan, you're like, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. It shouldn't feel foreign to you. You know what I mean? So be ready to answer the call, if that should ever happen. You know what I mean? So don't kind of like just wait for it. Don't wait for someone to come to your door and be like, hey, you want a job in ILM, right? It's not how it's gonna work. Like,
Also, you can't expect every studio to be like, well, you know, we're gonna art test you because we don't see what you can, that what you do is relevant, right? You can't expect that. You need to get the art test. A lot of times, you need to be able to show that you can already do it, right?
Yeah.
Because you might think you're close, but they're think, well, he's close enough for an art test, but not necessarily close enough for, you know, an absolute definite, you know. So it's like you always have to meet the studio halfway. You have to, because it's like, you know, you think that what you're doing is is, oh, well, it's relevant. It shows that I can paint, but it may not show that you can make something that they're looking for. So maybe
Yeah.
you have to, you know,
And it's an investment, you know. If they're
a
gonna
lot of
hire
time.
you,
Yeah.
they gotta do a visa. They gotta do all this stuff. They gotta probably pay for you to fly out. Like that's a lot. That's an investment. I don't even do that. People that I like, right? It's like so if I don't even
Well,
people
then.
that I know personally, it's like so if you're gonna apply for a job, you know they have to be sure, you know. So you want to do your best to kind of put all their worries away, you know, that they're like, trust me, like I'm worth it, and they should be like, all right, cool, let's do this.
Plus, you know what? It's like if you really want to work someplace, then it makes sense that you would already be doing art that looks like their work for fun, right?
Mm.
You know, I understand that you can't expect people to want to do free art, but you want to ultimately for you, you want to work someplace where you're going to have fun and you're going to enjoy it. So it's like show that you're already enjoying it, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, and that much was very clear with Jamaro because I mean, like his work is, it looks like he's having fun, you know?
Yeah, exactly. John, what's your time like right now? I don't know if you ever figured out how much time you have left.
Okay, yeah, it's fine. So I could probably stay till like 12. Is that okay?
Yeah, that works perfectly
Yeah.
fine for me. Is that cool with the chat? Or it's like, hell no, get out of here.
Is that like
That
40
would
minutes
be
for us?
that would be 3 for you, I think. Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. You guys cool?
Yeah,
You
that's
guys
Time
cool in
zones.
Canada?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, hell yeah.
This is
All right,
is
what's
great.
some, I saw some other good questions kind of floating around. What do we got over
Well,
there?
there's a quick small question from Mr. Anthony Jones for John. He's
Let's
like,
skip that one. Let's skip it.
okay.
I'm
Okay,
joking. I'm joking.
Okay, so he wants to know if your sketch groups are on Thursdays at the Spectrum, and if so, he's gonna start going there. See you.
I don't actually have a sketch group on Thursday anymore.
Oh,
Yeah.
When is it?
rejected.
Where
Well,
can you
I
find
don't have one. I actually go to the Blizzard one, and then I meet with different friends usually now.
Wait, there's someone that runs one, doesn't there? There's someone that runs like a Yvonne.
Might be. I don't know. Oh, Yvonne runs Beer Wednesday. Yeah.
Oh, that's weird. That's different. That's okay. That's not the sketch group.
I'm always there drawing though. Anyway, you know,
Well,
I
there you
think I
go.
skipped this week because I was walking around Spectrum getting Pokemon, but you know.
Oh,
John, your goal is to create a Pokemon sketch group. Just handle that.
sketch and go.
Well then, yeah, AJ, if John's there drawing, then just text him, and then I'm sure if AJ, if you go out, people will probably follow you. I think all you gotta do is say, hey, I'm going to Beer to draw. Anyone wants to come? I'll be right here. And that's how we started our sketch group in the beginning. So, like, we just showed up and we're just like, yeah, we'll be here. If you want to come? The next thing you know, it blew up.
Artist
So-
magnet.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like people always ask me and AJ, like, how do you create sketch groups or how do you like create the community stuff? I was like, honestly, just keep showing up. Like for a good like half a year, I think before even John maybe was even working there, or probably maybe you were working there. We just didn't know you yet. But it was just me and AJ. Like me and AJ every Wednesday after work would just go to this place. It's kind of like this little outdoor mall area, shopping center, and we would sit on tables and we would just draw for 2 hours, like 3 hours, and that was it. Like if no one came, we didn't care. We just drew, and then all of a sudden more people started coming. And next thing you know, it was like this 30-person group. We had to create a Facebook page. We had to do all this shit. You know, and all of a sudden we're like, dude, what the hell? This thing is huge now. And then it's funny because then people started bringing books. So then like this weird thing kind of became to bring your art books and then put it on this big table in the middle of the chairs. And then the point where like we ran out of chairs, and then like we had to like call like the person that runs the shopping center to be like, can we get more chairs? And they're like, who are you? And we're like, we run this. Like, there's a sketch group, but like, what's that? We're like, oh, are you those people that like hang out like on the Wednesdays? I was like, yeah. Like, can we do that? They're like, yeah, we can't get you more chairs, but. And then next thing you know, like now we're having art critiques. I remember one time like AJ and Rob and like Dan were like arguing like about art, like on the side. They weren't even drawing; they were just arguing, and I was just cracking up because I'm like, this is so awesome that like we're not drawing, but we're literally just talking about art theory, and it's just like a full hardcore conversation from Concept Club or from our sketch group, you know. And that's all it was just like us, me and him, just showing up every week and being constant with it. If you're consistent with it, like you can create a sketch group. It's that easy, and it's really cool. So I miss those days. I hope AJ gets back to it and creates that again. because those are some of the best. I think it's how we met everyone. It's how I've met like Gino, how I met Anthony Rivero, AJ. I won every art battle too, every art argument. Probably AJ's very good at arguing, so I wouldn't be surprised if we won those. But like even back in the day at Concept Club, like Paul Richards and AJ used to go at it too, and those are so good. Those are like the best times because Paul would get just like really into it, get really into the argument. And I'm like, man, I love art arguments where people just like argue about shit because like it's just like that idea, just community. Like you're passionate, I'm passionate. Let's argue some shit, and it's like
Yeah.
Let's fight.
it's fight club. We're gonna do a fight art club.
Art fight club. Yeah.
I think this
Tomorrow,
artist
yeah.
better than this artist, and they're like, no, you're wrong. You just like talk about why you think that's the case. I love that kind of stuff. I just love where we can be honest and open about it, and there's no hard feelings. You know, like you have your opinion, I have mine, and we just like talk about it. Like AJ loves to freaking argue Transformers to the death.
Okay.
That dude will argue Transformers to the day he dies, and it's
Like the
hilarious.
validity of the movie.
Yeah, like he will
Oh,
tell you
okay.
Transformers is awesome, right? And John is just like, what? Like,
Yeah,
he's gonna
okay.
summon the bird on him, right?
I'm sorry, AJ. I may have lost a little bit of respect for you there.
Exactly.
All about the
Uh,
toys in Generation 1. I said it.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna happen, dude.
You're gonna take that, AJ? You're gonna come in here and fight John like a man.
Fight Club. Next one, just so you guys know, it's going down. Fight Club with AJ versus John Polidora, and the topic is Transformers.
Edge control fight club.
Will it be live streamed?
It will be live streamed.
AJ, go kick my
Right
ass.
here?
We're going 12 rounds. 12 round fight, 2 minutes. It's going down. It's gonna be amazing.
When can we expect this?
Shoot, we're gonna
Right now. Right now. Alright. So we got another question from Ellie Pyro, or Al Pyro 01. And they're asking, do you think you progress more when you have a job or when you're just doing your own stuff? I have this struggle. Do I have to find a job to have my first experiences? Or should I continue to make progress before? Yeah. Hello? Hello?
the struggle.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry. The stream cut it. Yeah, no, my internet died for a second. Awesome.
You're wondering where you were.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We're handling the question, so just get it back going and then.
Yeah, it died here as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so
Awesome.
John, the question was, I think, do you progress more when you have a job or when you're doing your own stuff?
Right, there you go.
I don't know. I think I exercise my inventive like imagination mind more when I'm working for myself. But in terms of learning skill, I don't know. I feel like I'm surrounded by like the best line artists I have ever worked with. Right, that some of the best in the world. You know, I would be a fool to not try and use that, right? So it's like I don't know. I feel like you learn from. I learn from both. I do. But to be honest, like I've always used every experience where I'm making something as almost like school. I treat everything like school. You know, try and learn because it's like I know how I learn, and I don't learn in a classroom setting. You know, I may have never really been that way, right? But it's like for me, I learn from doing, I learn from watching, right? I learn from asking questions. It's really important to know how you learn, because when you do, it's kind of like a shortcut to knowing how to get better at what you want to get better at.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I think the best thing you said there is that everyone learns differently. some people learn self-taught, some people learn from school, some people learn from videos, some people learn from just watching. That's definitely a big thing right there. In terms of and John, like, what do you think the best way you like to learn is personally, actually, in terms of like your day-to-day life? Is it from just watching people, or is it more so like just talking, or is it more just kind of drawing on your sketchbook?
I find that like forcing myself to do something I don't normally do
Mm-hmm.
always results in a learning experience. Like I had a reason to draw or paint landscape paintings at work, right? Recently. And it's not typically what I do. Typically what I do is very character centric, and I was forced to think about things abstractly, and man, I loved it. You know, I loved it, and I felt like I learned a lot of things about, you know, why, I've always sort of loved landscape paintings myself, but it's like, it's not something I really have ever wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But spending the time to do it, I feel like I've never really even really like abstract art, but there's something to be said about composition that you can really, really learn when you work abstractly, and it's just really satisfying to not have to worry about um, is this eye rendered right? Is this cloth or material rendered right? It's like when you're just working on why this shape works with this shape, right? And why this color works next to this color. You're forcing yourself to think about things maybe you don't always think about, and it makes me better when I'm doing things that are more what I normally do. So I
Mm-hmm.
think purposefully doing things that don't normally occur to you is a really good idea.
Yeah, like traveling to Barcelona and doing a workshop, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just saying like anything, but it's like if the question was about art, I mean, like I like just in my case, and this last time that I did that at work, it was, it's like, well, we need this, and I was like, I'll do it. I volunteered. I was like, I want to do it, and then I didn't even like, like, oh man, am I gonna be good at this? And I'd be like, well, I may not be the best at it, but I'm gonna do my best, all right?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna use this experience to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's like you really have to look at things like not necessarily so directly sometimes. It's like, oh, I want
Yeah.
to just draw characters, so I'm gonna try drawing characters this way. You know what? Maybe don't draw characters, right? Maybe go draw something else, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely your mindset. I would say that the mindset is, even though it's not necessarily drawing characters, there is something out of this experience that I can take from it and be positive about it, and I can bring it into my own work. You know, I think that's a great mentality to have for students. That sometimes it's like, well, it doesn't apply to me, so I can't. Like I barely ever draw characters. I can, but I never do it. And it's more so, then why do you go life drawing? Well, because life drawing is fun, and even though it may not necessarily apply to landscape, there's something to be said about just rendering the human form in different angles that can eventually help me in my landscape painting. And so it's like, if you had the mentality that even though it may not be directly applicable to what you're doing, you can still find ways that it can help you if you're willing to look at it in a positive light. So I definitely agree with that. That's awesome. We have a
So,
question here. It says, is common practice for the company to pay for housing and living expenses? I wouldn't know that one, actually.
No, not
Depends.
that I know of. No,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
Blizzard anyway. But
Yeah. I think you got to find your own way. That's probably hard. So having
well,
friends
they're
that
they're
play.
already gonna pay you, and
Yeah.
they'll give you like medical benefits, dental benefits, like
Yeah.
eye care benefits. Like there's a lot of benefits, but just like they don't pay for your housing. No,
Yeah.
like
Some places may pay to fly you out so that to get you here, but then after that, it's like,
yeah, like if you're here for an interview, they'll like most just about everybody will pay for your hotel, right? Your travel, maybe
mhm.
your food, right? But it's like you can't expect once you work here, or you work anywhere really, for the company to also pay for your housing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not something I've ever heard of.
Some companies, will put you in temporary housing while you find a place, but that's only for like 2 weeks. And they're like, all right, we're gonna put you, like, if you're living somewhere really far away, we're gonna put you in this house. We're gonna help you find a place. But then after that, like, you gotta pay for that place. You gotta do this, this, and that. So, um, that will hopefully that gives you an answer as well. But yeah, more times than not, you gotta find your own way. But having connections is great too, because then that makes your life a lot easier. And then you have friends that are local there that can kind of help you and give you some do's and don'ts, you know, for that in general. What else do we got in terms of questions, guys?
I don't know.
Well, because of the disconnection, we lost quite a lot of the chat. But
Okay.
if you guys
I can
have,
scroll through. Oh, let me scroll through here real quickly. And
yeah.
Still got
let's see. He's talking about art mixers. Oh yeah,
Oh.
I love mixers. Those are my favorite.
I just got one. So this person's asking, so I'm from a small country in South America, and I'm currently looking for work as an animator for games, but I've been rejected for almost every studio saying that I don't have experience. Is this reason real, or is it just another way of saying that you're not good enough?
I would imagine it's probably the latter, that maybe you're not good enough. Like I'm sure AJ in the chat will probably attest to this. Like I don't think I've ever met anyone that was like a real badass, and then you're like, oh, but you haven't worked at a company, or like you haven't, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
it's really,
yeah.
like,
Dude, the only time that ever comes up in art that I know of is if you're in any kind of leadership or management role,
yeah.
right? You know, it's like if you're fresh, then it's like it doesn't matter. You know, it's like because you can be taught a lot of the different things that you need to know, but it's like if you're going to be in charge of people,
Yeah.
they want somebody who has been a part of a pipeline before, you know. So it's like I doubt that's really part of it. I mean, like, yeah. I'd probably say that's probably the case.
Yeah. Like if your portfolio is badass and like everyone is like looking at your shit and they're just like, this guy's dope, right? Then it's like I highly doubt, because most people are like us. I don't think someone's ever like, yo, boy, he doesn't work at a studio. It's like, but he's tight. I mean, you would think of that from like a sports, like think of like from sports, right? If there's someone who's like really good at basketball and you're like an NBA team, and he's like killing it, and you're like, this guy's gonna be dope. Would you be like, well, he hasn't played for any NBA teams here, but then like you clearly see like his stats, like what he does, you're like, but this guy's dope, like he's really really good. Yeah,
The
but
only
he hasn't, you know what I mean? It's like if he's
The
good.
only thing I can think of is that it isn't an artist saying that; it's a recruiter saying you don't meet the minimum.
Yeah.
You know, which makes sense because sometimes recruiters don't necessarily know what they're talking about. They only know that like this is the sheet that they're handed, right? And it's like if on the resume it doesn't say that this person has a minimum number of years, even though really that particular statistic or amount of time doesn't matter. They don't know, right? And they'll just say, "I'm sorry, you don't have the experience we need." You know,
Yeah. That's
it
actually,
could be something like that too.
yeah, because sometimes recruiters, right, they don't know what to look for in art, so then the directors will kind of give them like a bullet point of like what they should look for in resumes and portfolios. Because if you're Blizzard, I would assume, John, you're probably getting thousands of like resumes a day. At some point, you have to like have some kind of filtering process, and it may be possible that your stuff kind of slips through the cracks because the director says, all right, looking for an artist, he needs to have this much experience, these kind of companies. If they don't, you could probably toss it aside.
I think when it comes to recruiting, it's like it's important to have hard requirements and soft requirements, right? And a soft requirement for me when it comes to like an artist would always be experience, unless you're in a management role, right? But it's like that's not always expressed, and recruiting departments are usually not that great with art. In my experience, like a lot of them, they don't really know what to look for, like Kalen said, and they don't necessarily know what's really important. They only know what's important in every other discipline, you know, or maybe not even them, but they're just like, well, number of years, that's really important. If they don't have it, then we can't hire them, you know. Like it doesn't. That's not logical to us, but it might be logical to them.
Yeah. So that's why having contacts can really help you, because you can kind of bypass at least the recruiter stage, and then just have your work just be seen by the director. You know, when you know someone, then they can just say, hey, give me your work, I'll email to my director, and then then the director can make a decision right on the spot and say, yeah, put him through to the HR, or yeah, just give him an art test and we'll go from there. You know what I mean? But if you're really kind of confused about it, my best advice to you is find an anime that you really really like, or that works at a company that you want to work for. find their contact information and just email them and just say, hey, just obviously don't be like give me critique right now, but just say, hey, if you have some time, I'd love to get some feedback. I'm trying to get a job, or I'm trying to learn more about my work, learn about my portfolio, and I want to get better. If you have any advice for me, I'd really appreciate it. And maybe they might give you some advice. They'll say, hey, I think you should work on this, and this. Or they might even say, hey, this is really amazing. Let me help you out or something like that. So I think if you just talk to more people, especially go to more events, go to animation events where people are looking at portfolios for that thing. A good one is CTN, right? CTN, they have those kind of specifically just for animation, and maybe you don't live in the area, obviously, but it'd be worth kind of saving some money, investing and going, because that's where Pixar, DreamWorks, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, every major animation thing, everyone's there. It's that's probably the best place to go to really get some insight onto your work. Or if you can't do that, then obviously maybe look at some online places or teachers or instructors. But I'm sure there's a way to find out why you're not getting what you're getting. Question right there said, will we be at CTN this year? We will. We're not gonna have a booth, but we will be around. We're probably just gonna take over John's booth.
I don't know about that. Me and Gino might have a problem with that.
John's booth. We got really late on buying our booth, and then at that point it was kind of it seemed like it was kind of disorganized this year. CTN, actually probably shouldn't say that, but it seemed like it was kind of it was a little bit kind of. I didn't know what was going on, and then plus so now they have DesignerCon too. Which is the same time as CTN, I think, John, actually.
Yeah, it's the same exact weekend. I wish it wasn't, because I'd really love to check it out, because I heard wonderful things about it.
See? There you go, John. Yeah. We'll take over your booth while you go, and we'll just hang out.
No, I can't. I can't do that. Besides, CTN, I look forward to that show so much every year.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I always see people that I really that I don't get to see throughout the year, and make so many new friends that I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not missing a minute of it, because I look forward to it all year.
Yeah, CTN's the shit. But yeah, we'll be there, but we won't have a booth this time. I think we'll just be kind of hanging out. We might do some with other schools, with other companies and stuff like that. But we'll be around. We'll probably have an event, a mixer event, where we'll just people out. But we're probably gonna go because we want to go to both. Actually, we kind of want the freedom of not having the responsibility that John has to have, which is manage a booth 24/7. So we kind of want to check out DesignerCon too, but we're gonna have a hotel room there, so we'll have a hotel at the Burbank Marriott, but we don't have a booth this time, so we'll just be hanging out and just partying, playing Smash Brothers.
I wish I could go.
Yeah, and it's there every year, so I mean, you just gotta save up some money and stuff like that and get it going. I think we should probably start some kind of thread or something like that, talking about one day we'll probably have a conversation about that, about conventions and things you should look for, and how to save money and how to look for flights, all that kind of stuff.
That's a good idea.
That can be kind of a good thing as well. We might have to do that with Toronto actually, and probably just talk about where you want to go.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Mr. Jones will sell all Michael Bay's greatest hits at John's booth. Apparently, so that's awesome.
Only if you beat me to the ground, AJ.
How salty John would be if there was a picture of AJ selling a Transformer DVD on his premises. John would be like, what?
I'd be like, security, I don't know this man.
Yeah. When you go to the bathroom, John, you gotta go to the bathroom sometime.
No, but dude, I'm sharing my booth with Gino Whitehall, so
we're gonna pay him off. It's gonna happen.
No, I don't think that.
I'm gonna give. Has
be purchasable.
Find out what that price is. You'll be next to Michaela, right? Is Michaela next to you as well that year?
Yeah, Michaela will be there. And do you guys know Peter Clark and Katie Hargrove? You should look up their work. They're both really good.
Yeah,
Peter Clark is.
Yeah, you gotta.
Peter
put
Clark is the shit. Katie Hargrove is the shit.
Yeah, we'll find what Michaela's price is and Gino's price. And things are going to happen.
Damn it!
You sold them out.
Someone wrote also regarding CTN, our game studios recruiting and stuff. Actually, there are sometimes game studio people actually that go to the event. So though the company may not actually have like an actual presence, like a booth, a lot of game people do go. It's gotten to this point now where it's kind of like anyone that just does art for entertainment, um, gives talks and just hangs out. So
And there's lots of Blizzard people that go. The Blizzard people often do demos and have talks there every
yeah,
year now.
a lot of Blizzard people are killing it
Wow.
over there in the daily.
In
Like I
games
love
and in the animation, in Blizzard from Blizzard Animation too. So it's not just like for the cinematic stuff anymore. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I think the word's gotten out about CTN, and then a lot of people from all over the entertainment industry really like to go and be there.
Yeah, because I mean, I think it's because Comic Con has gotten so like just convoluted and just so like busy and just so like commercialized that when CTN came out, it was like the very first year. I went to the very first year, and it was very small. It was only like one room, and that was it. And I was just like, oh, this is amazing. Like it's only like it's like all my favorite artists, but it's really small, and I can talk to them. There's no lines, and like this is awesome. You know what I mean? And I think slowly CTN is kind of becoming that too, like the Comic Con where it's getting too crowded, so that's why Designer Con was kind of made. But even then, like it's still small enough where I can get everything done in a couple of days and meet everyone and talk to everyone, and
Mhm.
it's a big reunion because I just see all my friends that I haven't seen for a while, and I'm just like, hey, what are you up to? So then like I get to see Gino, John, like everyone, like and like Paul, like in one like swoop, one like table. I get to see everyone that I haven't seen in a while, and then we just shoot the shit and talk, and then go get drinks afterwards, and it's like that's awesome. And that's
You
what
know,
it's about, you know.
you know what the best part of CTN is the fact that it's like it's a personal art show. It's a personal project show. It's everybody's own IP show. Very little is sold that is either fan art or something for Disney, for Pixar, for DreamWorks that's related to what they do, because it's like it's all the people that work in that industry, right? But it's all the work that they do on the side for themselves. And to me, it's infinitely more impressive to see how much skill is out there that isn't even being used for movies or games. You know,
Yeah,
like it's like the best art show in the world.
yeah. I actually might like, and then the best part about it is that the airport is right there. So
Yeah,
like it's literally across the street. So like when you fly in, you just hop on a bus, and then 2 minutes later you're there. And then
you
like
can walk it too. It's very walkable too.
I'm
You know,
petty. I will pay a taxi driver, and I will walk.
I mean,
Pokemon
get
Go.
I will
yeah,
walk there in
dude, get your
style.
steps,
Well,
man. You
actually,
got
now with Pokemon Go, I might actually walk that shit.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying. You got to hatch, man.
Um, but yeah, then the event it's at the hotel. So if you get a room at the hotel early enough, then it's like whenever you get tired, you can just walk up, crush a nap, and come back down. And then it's like, and then after that, like people are just in the lobbies hanging out. Like actually, what was really funny, Zabi, is that our hotel, our room was right next to Kim Jung Ji. You know who that is,
Oh,
right?
oh,
So, like,
What?
we're playing Smash Brothers, right? And then like our doors open and we're like loud and drinking and stuff, and I just see him like walk out of a door, and like I know his translator, and I was like, yo, dude, what's up? And I'm like, is that Kim? He's like, yo, man, come and play Smash Brothers with us. And then he's like, and Han's like, nah, we gotta go, but maybe we come back. And I was like, dude, wait for it. Someone watch the door. When Kim Jong Gi gets back, we're gonna get drunk. And he's probably gonna destroy us. I can imagine
Oh,
him
I'm
being really good at
so
Smash Brothers, and he's just like laughing at us.
I'm
But it's
so
like funny stuff like
jealous.
that where you're just like, oh shit, like that guy's our neighbor. Like, and he probably hates us because we were really super loud. Um, but it's
We need
like
to
it's
pull
stuff
him
like
into.
that where you're just around awesome people all the time, and you meet other awesome people. Like that's like the best part about it. It's just connections, like people that will like become your best friends probably later on, even if you're not even from there. Someone came from Gran Canaria Island, someone came from Australia. Like there are ways to get out to these things, guys, if you just save money. Like if you literally look up flights a year, like look up flights a year in advance, kind of look up all that kind of stuff, what it would cost, you know. Once you figure out the cost, then you can figure out a plan to save money for that, and you can do it. Like I go on vacation every year with my fiance, and we save money. We figure out how much it's going to cost, and then we figure out how much we need to save, and then every month we put that money away, and then we put it in an account, and then we do it. You know what I mean? So it's like there are ways to do it, guys, and those things are very well worth it. You can't put a price on just like seeing John, Gino, and Paul Richards like all in one space. You can't put a price on that. There's no way. It's like
Yeah, speaking of saving though, sorry I interrupted, but just a little bit of promotion here and there. We have some deadlines if you guys should keep in mind. It's about the early bird tickets that ends on August 12th.
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
mark your calendars on that. And for those of you who are not living in Toronto, we did do a little bit of update on our website. So we have a bit more information on like where the food is and what to do about where to stay while you're here. And so the link for that is there. And if you guys are having trouble finding cheap place, shoot us an email or something, and
I'll help you
maybe we
out.
can
Yeah.
connect you with some people who are attending and who are also coming from afar, so you guys maybe could get a place together. That's a
Airbnb. Like, trust me, there are ways to get it. Like, I think some people just always want like the obvious answer about something. Sometimes you'd be surprised. Like, it takes a little bit of research, but you can figure something out. But on the website, they give you some information about if you're coming out of town, you know, what you guys should be doing, and it's more than possible if you put some effort into it. I guarantee it. And those things are well worth it. And then on top of that, too, we do have some group tickets, right? I believe some group sale.
You have to email us to
Yeah.
get group discounts, but that
Yeah.
offer does still stand.
Yeah.
So if you are coming in a group of at least, let's say 3, then, you know, shoot us an email, say hi, and we'll work something out for you.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about, guys. Group tickets are amazing. Almost all workshops do it, and it's because chances are you're not gonna go by yourself. So all you gotta do is be like, hey man, you want to like go in on these tickets together because they're a lot cheaper if you buy them as a group. And then next thing you know, you're going with some friends. It's gonna be an awesome time. So you know, Airbnb, like even at CTN, like our hotel, like I think we had like a bunch of people in the room. Like we split it, you know. So even us, we split a room. So it's like only 2 beds, but we had like 4 people in there, and we just people slept on the floor and whatever. Because you're not in there all the time. Like when you're there, you're on the floor. You know what I mean? Like you're on the expo, you know, floor hanging out. You only go there to sleep. So, you know, it's like that's what it's about. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be a pretty fun time. So I'm definitely excited for all that stuff. So there are ways, guys. There are ways, and we're here to help you. So just talk to us and create an open dialogue, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So we have about like 8 minutes left. So I guess I quickly wanted to get John to talk about briefly what he might be presenting at the expo, if that's cool.
doesn't have to be detailed.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Oh.
super detailed.
It's just going to be probably a talk on character design and approach I have. Character
Okay.
It'll be about this bird for 4 hours.
design. No, it'll be about this bird. Honestly, like, you know, I mean, I have a lot of doodles in my sketchbook, and I picked this one because I was like, well, you know, this might be kind of interesting, you know. But I'm going to talk about how, just one way to approach problem of like coming up with an idea, and then executing that idea by thinking about things in different and unique ways, you know.
Okay.
Hopefully you do some this is the kind of request on my part, John, but the thing that you did last in Barcelona, the interactive thing, that was pretty badass. If there's any way to possibly
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping. I'm hoping I'll be able to
I
do
won't
that a
spoil
little
it
bit more.
for them, because that's actually like you're the first person I've ever seen do something like that, and I was like, dude, this is how dope this guy is. This guy's like doing it on the fly, like interactive kind of demo with the crowd. Like
Yeah.
people were so into it. They're like, blue, red, spikes. It's like, oh, that's awesome. I think whatever. I'll stop talking now. But I think for anyone that's gonna come, you will like John's demo. And as I will, someone that can attest to this, John is the most prepared motherfucker that I ever have met in my entire life when it comes to traveling. Like when I travel, like I really don't give a shit because I know I can buy stuff when I get there. But like John had like the chargers, like the converters, like the pouches, like any like this, like all of like the shampoo, the conditioner, the deodorant, like anything that I forgot, like floss or whatever. This guy had it like in a package, like in a bag, and he was like so ready, like all the time.
Oh my
I was like,
God.
this guy's so freaking prepared. And he's
I
like,
was
"For the
worried
first
for
time
life,
ever."
man. Be prepared. I used to be
Yeah.
a Boy Scout, by the way.
If John was not there, we could have screwed on so many accounts of like just my phone just going out. And he had like 2 chargers, like 2 portable chargers that could charge a phone like 9 times. And I actually bought one, John, and I love that shit. Like I use it all the time now. 'Cause I hate plugging
Yeah.
into a wall that I'm not near. And I'm like, thank God for John. But like John had like extra converters, like he was so prepared. And so I was just like, And I even told him, I was like, if you are half as prepared for your workshop as you are right now, like you're gonna be fine. And this guy did not disappoint. He's prepared as hell. So one thing you will see is that this guy is like, John. Just so you know, John, I'm not bringing shit. Like you're gonna bring my clothes. I'm gonna use your towels. I'm gonna use all your toiletries. This guy always has extra. Like, I don't have to bring anything. Man. Like he's
Bring that big backpack and you can throw whatever you want in it.
Yeah, he's kind of like a modern day like item person in an RPG game that like sells the stuff. Like he's that guy. Like,
He is the bird.
He is the bird.
He's a modern day merchant, RPG merchant. Like he has everything.
Don't worry about it, Kalen. Your hotel room will have those. We'll have your toothpaste there. We'll have it for you.
Hopefully.
Just so you know, John already has it.
And your first aid kit, John. We got you first aid kits.
John, I think, had a first aid kit, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. See, I told you, dude. Don't.
Dude, I told you, I'm like a Boy Scout with this shit.
He's like if that plane would have crashed on an island, I would have been like, we're good. We got John. Like the rest of you guys are all
I don't know how many islands there are in the middle of the Atlantic, but okay.
Yeah. John's like, oh, I have a boat on the way. Don't worry.
Well, you know,
I have a raft.
I'll have to
so
remember
hilarious.
next time I fly internationally to bring an inflatable raft.
Yeah, like,
Put it on my list.
fine.
Just in
Me,
case.
like, the rest of you guys are screwed because you don't know John, but we know him, so we get access to his food, his raft, his walkie-talkie.
I didn't say I share my food.
The Michael Bay DVDs that he has.
Oh, we're gonna burn those. We'll burn those.
AJ
Burn
will
those
bring
in the
them.
fire. The Kinder.
Uh-uh.
Okay, we have 4 minutes left. What other questions do we got?
Not a
Oh,
question,
that's-
but a certain thing. Like Andy Bui, thank you so much. Suddenly, I got a notification that he donated. Thank you
Oh,
for helping us.
beautiful.
Your
Talk
donation.
about that. Wow,
Yeah.
the donation.
So we haven't really made it that noticeable, but we
It's
do.
tiny.
It's like a small button on the side of our website, but we do have a donation button in case you can't come to the event, but you want to support us in some way, somehow, and donating is probably one of the best ways to get the
Yeah.
event going. Right. So
There's a lot of expenses that you wouldn't know, and just so you guys know,
I
like
know.
no one is making money off of this. Like none of the they're not paying me or AJ or John. Like the only thing that they're helping us out with is our flights and a place to stay. So literally, these guys are coming out just to share with you, just for the fact of sharing. And so with that, there are obviously a lot of expenses, like just getting, the hotels, the flights, the venue, like just things that you would take for granted that you don't think cost anything do cost stuff. And so, yeah, if you guys are always down for the community, I've done it before to other causes like this before. It's like, you help out when you can, So if you are down for that and you can't make it, but you have $1 or something like that, throw it in there. We'll definitely appreciate it. I'm sure Zabi and Denzel would appreciate it. These guys are doing it all by themselves for the first time, no experience in the event, and like out of their own pocket, like fronting the money, and that's like, that to me is like that's crazy. That's how much they believe in the event, that they're fronting all this stuff up front, for you guys. So
Yeah, we make a joke about it too. We're like, oh, we should just call it debt control because honestly, we could just go into debt if it happens. But your donations, we'll use every penny to help feed these artists burritos.
Like,
Not John and Kalen.
don't feed me.
all your donations go to burritos.
help with you
Yes.
guys with venue costs and whatnot. I'm gonna get my own burritos.
Sorry. Like fire alarm.
Damn, this
Yeah,
getting
okay.
on fire, John. Don't fire. Don't fire, John.
Okay, he should have muted his mic. But let me
Okay.
mute it.
Well, I'll be right back.
Oh, look at that! Perfect. He's gone.
Just empty. You just-
So, yeah, Denzel is probably burning. So
damn.
just, you'll be me and the
This
artist.
painting is in honor of Denzel, and that's why you gotta come to the event. We're gonna have a memorial session for him, and the stream is on fire. The stream is lit. Sometimes that happens, man. These deals are hot. So, all right. So it's about to be 12 right now. I just want to say thanks to Denzel. Hopefully you're dodging fires right now. We appreciate it.
Yeah, it's still.
John, thank you so much for coming through.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that.
God.
Jesus Christ. Hopefully I don't die, but
All right. Someone, you probably want to call 911 after this, obviously.
Yeah, it might be a good
Probably.
idea.
After
Yeah.
the stream, you know what I mean? Thanks
Priorities.
for rolling through.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank
thank you
you.
so much.
Yeah,
Mr.
thanks for John for doing this awesome bird thing. I can't wait to see this guy finish. This is hilarious. I hope you figure out a voice for this guy, a voice actor
Yeah.
for this bird.
I'll probably just
Yeah.
sample some birds outside at the breakfast place I'm gonna go to.
There you go. Catch some Pokemon, do all that stuff. Awesome. And yeah, if Zabi, you could throw in the chat one more time, just the link to all that stuff.
Yes,
Please,
sir.
guys, if anything, just share the event. You know, if you can't donate and you can't come, what you can easily do is just share it. Throw it on your Facebook page. Say, hey, man, these guys do something in Toronto. If you're in the area or you're close, go out to it. I mean, that's the best thing you can do. That's free. It takes 2 seconds of your time. We're definitely trying to push this event and get people to come because it's going to be a fun time, and we want to meet you guys. So
Definitely. Thank
Yeah,
you so
yeah.
much, guys. I mean, this stream was oozing with creative people, and I'm really happy about it. Thank you so much for just coming down. That on its own is very encouraging for us to just keep moving forward with this.
yeah,
Absolutely.
word.
Alright.
John, this is a dope piece, dude. I like it. Keep doing more of these.
Really good.
Yeah.
Oh, show.
All right,
All right,
friends.
guys. We'll talk to
See you
you
in the next stream.
next stream,
Kudos.
dude.
This was
Who
fun.
do you guys
Thanks for
want
having
actually
me,
next
guys.
stream? Type it in. You want Danny? You want AJ? You want Jamaro? Throw it in there. Throw it in the chat. We'll figure it out.
Who's
we'll-
next?
Oh yeah, we will have the stream recorded as well. You could find our previous stream actually with Frank Hong at our YouTube channel. Do you have the YouTube channel link?
Yeah,
Yes,
throw
I
that link
gotcha.
as well. So you can watch the previous ones too. So if you want to
Yes.
watch those, put it on while you're painting.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
can do that as well.
low key though. Right now I'm currently putting together a small documentary that we shot with Frank Hong and his studio at Crush Visual. So I'm gonna put that out later this week, and also a podcast version. So stay tuned for that. Right? That's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right. All right. Well,
All right, guys. We will see you guys at the next one. Thanks for coming by. Enjoy your Sunday, and we'll see you guys around. Okay.
Love you guys.
Goodbye, guys.
bye.
Thanks for this. See ya.